Dobro. History. Archive.
So today we're going to break down one of the most incredible, most meticulously planned assassinations in modern history. It's a story that has it all: a blood oath, a two-pronged attack, an absolutely brilliant lie, and a tragic irony that literally changed the fate of an entire nation. This is the 7-day countdown to how a Korean resistance fighter, An Jung-geun, assassinated Japan's most powerful man, Ito Hirobumi.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You see, this whole incredible story, it all comes down to one really strange detail: a physical mark that becomes both a symbol of an unbreakable promise and, believe it or not, a life-saving deception. To understand how that's even possible, we gotta start 7 days before the first shot was ever fired.
Our story begins, not in the city of the assassination, but way up in Vladivostok, Russia. This freezing cold port city was actually the main base of operations for the Korean Righteous Army. And it's here that a small group of men gather to make a promise they can never take back.
Now, this wasn't some symbolic gesture, right? They called themselves the Danji Dongmang, which means the Alliance of the Cut Finger, and they meant it literally. One by one, they took a knife and they severed the last joint of their left ring finger. Then, using their own blood as ink, they wrote the words "Korea's independence" on a national flag. This was a physical contract, an irreversible mark, and that missing finger, it is about to become a critical plot point.
So who were these guys? Think of it like a heist movie crew. You've got the leader and the marksman, 30-year-old An Jung-geun. You've got his right-hand man, Woo Duk-sun, another shooter, Jo Do-san, and then, maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle, Yu Dong-ha. He's only 18 years old, but he's a fluent Russian speaker. That makes him their guide, their translator, their intelligence guy. In this foreign land, he's their absolute lifeline.
But, an operation like this needs two things: money and weapons. Enter the godfather of the Korean resistance, a man named Choi Jae-hung. He'd gone from being a serf to one of the richest men in the area. They called him Pechka, the Russian word for stove, because his home was a warm, safe haven for all the independence fighters. He provides the money, and he provides the weapon, a state-of-the-art Belgian-made FN 1900 pistol, and it holds 7 rounds. Remember that number. It's going to be important.
All right, fast forward. 4 days to go. The team arrives in Harbin, Manchuria. It's freezing cold. So in these final, quiet days, what do? Well, you get a haircut, a shave, and then you pose for one last photograph together. I mean, think about that. This isn't just some photo op. It's a statement. They knew they probably weren't coming back from this, and they were creating a record for history.
Okay, so their plan was incredibly smart. They didn't just have one shot at Ito Hirobumi, they had 2. Plan A was the main event. Woo Deok-san and Jo Do-seon would try to ambush Ito's train at a small, quiet station called Kaijiago. But if they failed for any reason, Plan B was the backup: An Jung-geun waiting at the big official welcome ceremony at the main Harbin station. So you're probably wondering, how would An know if Plan A failed? It's 1909. There are no walkie-talkies, no cell phones. The answer, once again, is their linchpin, 18-year-old Yu Dong-ha. He's monitoring the telegraphs to confirm Ito's arrival time. And the communication protocol is just simple and brilliant. The signal is the train itself. If An sees that train pulling into Harbin Station, he knows, without a word being said, that the first team failed. And he knows it's all on him.
D-Day, October 26th. Out at that small Kaijiago station, Plan A just falls apart. Suspicious Russian soldiers spot Woo and Jo and block them from getting near the tracks. They have to stand there, helpless, and just watch as Ito's train pulls away. So now, everything shifts to Harbin Station. An Jung-geun is on the platform. He sees the train arriving. The signal's been given. It's all up to him now.
It's 9:30 in the morning. A Russian military band is playing. The man himself, Ito Hirobumi, steps off the train. He inspects the Russian honor guard, walking right past the line of soldiers. An, who was hiding in the crowd, just slips out from behind them. He's only a few feet away. He raises that FN M1900 pistol, he takes aim, and he fires the first shot.
The second shot just rips through the air, and the platform explodes into total chaos. The music stops, you hear people screaming, scrambling, trying to find cover, with no idea where the shots are coming from. And then, the third shot. It finds its mark. Ito Hirobumi stumbles, and then he collapses to the ground. The main target is down.
But An doesn't stop. Look, he's a great shot, but in all that smoke and panic, you can't be 100% sure, so he keeps firing. Bang, 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 emptying the entire 7-round magazine. He deliberately targets 3 other high-ranking Japanese officials in Ito's group just to make sure the mission is an absolute, undeniable success.
Now, what he does next tells you everything about his motive. He doesn't try to run. He just stands his ground, pistol still in hand, and he shouts, but not in Korean. He shouts in Russian, Korea ura, Korea hurrah. He does this so all the foreign officials, all the guards, all the press, they know exactly why this just happened. This was an act of war for Korean independence.
So, An is arrested by Russian authorities. This is Russian-controlled land, so by all international laws, they should be the ones to handle his trial. But in a completely illegal move, they just hand him over to the Japanese consulate. A Japanese diplomat named Ono Mori is brought in for the first interrogation, and the very first thing he notices is An's left hand.
Okay, put yourself in his shoes for a second. The entire conspiracy is hanging by a thread. The lives of all of your comrades, your friends, they're all on the line. So what do you say when that interrogator points to your hand and asks, "Hey, what happened to your finger?"
And looks him right in the eye and tells the most calculated, incredible lie. He says, "I accidentally cut my finger when I was cooking a rabbit." A rabbit! Can you believe it? And it was absolutely brilliant. By making up this dumb, random story, he completely broke the connection to the Danji Dongmang, to that blood oath. He built a firewall around his friends, making himself the one and only target.
So, the trial is a total sham, of course. It's held illegally by the Japanese in Lushun prison. But An doesn't beg for mercy or try to save his own life. Instead, he flips the script. He uses this illegitimate court as a global stage to make his case to the entire world.
His whole argument was simple. I am in the court of Japan as a prisoner of war. I did not act as a private citizen, but rather as a lieutenant general of the Korean Resistance Army. He was saying, I'm not a terrorist, I'm a soldier. This was an act of war, and you need to treat me as a prisoner of war under international law.
And then he lays it all out. He formally reads a list that he prepared. The 15 reasons why Ito should be killed. The charges on this list include things like assassinating Korea's empress, dethroning its emperor, massacring innocent Koreans, and the final, damning charge, breaking the peace of Asia.
But this is where the story takes its final, gut-punching twist. As Ito lay dying there on the platform, someone told him that a Korean had shot him. His last words were reportedly, "He is a fool."
A fool? Why would he say that? Well, this right here is the profound tragedy of the whole story. An's goal, his whole reason for being, was to stop the Japanese annexation of Korea. But Ito, for all his crimes against Korea, was actually seen as a political moderate in Japan who wanted a slower, more gradual takeover. By killing him, An had just removed the one man standing in the way of Japan's military hardliners. They used the assassination as the perfect excuse to speed up their plans, and just a few months later, Japan formally annexed Korea completely.
An Ken was executed in March of 1910. But what about the men he protected with that lie about the rabbit? Well, Woo Duk-sun and Jo Do-sun were eventually caught, but they only served short prison sentences. The 18-year-old linchpin, Yoo Dong-ha, was killed by Japanese troops years later. And a decade after that, the Japanese came for the godfather, Choi Jae-hyung, and executed him by firing squad with no trial at all. An Jung-geun's final wish was simple. He wanted his remains to be buried in his homeland, but only after it was free again. Japan refused. They buried him in a secret, unmarked grave. Well, Korea has been free since 1945, but to this day, his body has never been found. So what's left? After all this, all we really have is this one image, an image he made himself, a handprint pressed in black ink with that one defiant missing finger, a permanent physical record of a blood oath kept. Which leaves us with a final question. How is a story remembered when its hero has no grave?